Christopher, another week in advance. How you doing today?
Fantastic, and Aquarius time is upon us, so a lot of people are feeling definitely some, oh, I guess you'd say some electrical current moving into their life because Aquarius being that air sign that is a water bearer, it's kind of like having one foot in the pond and the other foot holding the lightning rod. You will feel the electricity at some point during this passage. So how are things there in California?
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the spark. It's a spark of new energy. Things I could have never predicted in my life. Very interesting things with relationships happening in my life. Interesting things happening all over that really are exciting. And then there's all that Scorpio energy, which seems to be part of the story as well as, it's like our emotions really have to find that connection. Like, what do we really want to connect with? And that's a lot to talk about, especially I'm sure we're finishing up a Venus retrograde that I think is really powerful of rearranging storylines and relationships. But on top of all that, Pluto is involved and Jupiter is involved with Venus. So those are two intense planets. They're adding to really big, powerful, unique stories in these relationships. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, one of the things I was thinking about the other day, because I have a couple of friends who ask me as far as investments go, they come back to me and say, oh, should I buy this, should I buy that? And as Venus right now is moving backwards to conjunct with Pluto, I think right before Venus actually turns around and starts to advance again at this 13th degree, and Pluto being at the 12th degree in Capricorn. If you've been doing your research and you've been thinking about investments in property, this is an ideal time because over on the other side of the chart, we've got Jupiter interacting with that 12, 13 degree position because Jupiter starts off at 13 as we release this video, as we make this video, it'll move all the way back to an exact opposition. And oppositions can be very, very beneficial. Especially in acquisitions, because you're seeing both sides of the coin. You're seeing the Cap and you're seeing the Cancer side. So we've got this kind of an interesting synergy and kind of an exciting moment here coming right in conjunction with this new moon. So I'm very optimistic about all the things, the elements in our lives that we're ready to make commitments with. This is the week to really do your research, and with that new moon, sign the papers, make the commitment.
Yeah, we're coming up on a new moon. We're coming up to the end of this Venus retrograde. We're coming to, the ending of a lot of these stories and either taking them to new beginnings or closing a lot of doors and opening radically new doors. So we're at this nice little in-between place as we begin this week and this weekend. I think that this weekend is a lot to ponder, especially as we wrap up a moon in Scorpio and then it comes into Sagittarius and the ideas really, I think, sparkle. I think when Sagittarius mixes with Aquarius, it just adds an amazing amount of excitement and, questions that we can ponder in our lives. I think there's a lot to ponder. I think there's a lot to observe. And I think there's an opening that we kind of build this week into. And I think it's important for this opening. I think it's important to look at every area of your life because we are about to close some doors and begin some new ones. And I think they're dealing with value systems, relationships. These are teammates. These are love relationships. These are friendships. These are even business partnerships. Just like you say, with investments and so forth, these are big decisions with Venus and Capricorn that you can't deny, especially as Pluto is starting to conjunct this very intensely. This is about uncovering the right relationships, the wrong ones, and starting to see through them.
Yeah, it's definitely that energy of penetrating the veil, seeing deeply into what's going on around you. And like I said before, it's all about commitment too. Now is the time to commit because as we see that new moon come into place, it is going to be interactive with Uranus, of course, and that's going to be kind of fun. Nice tight sextile going on there, and that is going to, put some juice into the picture. And I think we're going to see a lot of stagnant situations start to pick up now. We're going to see the air kind of dry out a little bit. It was kind of swampy, muggy, and now we've got that Aquarian energy and that fiery energy of Aries as these planets, the Moon, the Sun, and Uranus are interactive. And so that's going to dry things out. It's going to make things less bogged down, less emotionally, what's the word for it? It's almost like emotional constipation that half the people on the planet have been dealing with. So now we're going to see that advance. And I think this is going to be a very exciting week. It's going to be weird in that, we've got that dark of the moon phase on Wednesday, Thursday, before the moon renews itself. And that's when you really want to be very, very dormant. Just pause, meditate, reflect. And then when the new moon appears on Thursday night, Friday, that's the big shift and the forward movement comes.
It's a really big shift, and that pause that you talk about is so interesting because the moon touches that Venus-Pluto conjunction, opposes the Jupiter energy in Cancer. That is a very big sensitive spot that is happening right now between our goals, between how our emotions deal with things. That emotional constipation that you talk about, I think, is very intense at this moment, as there's so much to look at of how to flow it correctly. Are we flowing our energy in the right relationships? Are we flowing our energy in the right, deals? I think, Capricorn deals with deals pretty well, whether they are in love, whether they are in business, whether they are in pleasure. I mean, they really deal in all areas of what you want to accomplish, what you want to achieve in your life. And so there is a big pause. And I think this weekend is not the pause. I think this weekend is to really go in the energy, flow with it, tap into that fire and that air. That's going to help dry things out like you describe even more. But once that's done, there's a lot to ground in. I think this is we go really intense and then we go straight into grounding and then we go into this liftoff, because I think a new moon in Aquarius is a big liftoff. Air energy just lifts everything off the ground, and it's our atmosphere. Our atmospheres are going to change by this new moon, and this new moon is in a really good place. I think it's one of the best places it could be right now for a lot of us. I think it's going to help progress this new story, especially when Venus goes direct on Friday.
Exactly, and boy, it's like fireworks in all directions too, because we have the moon renewing itself, we have Venus directing, and then we have Mercury moving out of Aquarius, moving across that 29th degree and arriving in Pisces as we move into the next weekend. And that's going to be very interesting to see how communication changes, because Aquarius is very airy, it's very cerebral, and Mercury really loves that positioning in Aquarius as well as Gemini and Libra. It loves the air signs. Now it's moving into watery energy, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that quicksilver effect starts to manifest, especially as it moves across Neptune in this following week. So yeah, this new moon is going to really kind of supercharge a lot of people's lives.
It is a supercharger, especially because that darking phase of the moon, it goes through that cardinal cross energy. It goes through a Pluto-Venus conjunction. I think there's really serious decisions to overview this week. And then it's that rocket ship that comes at the end to take you off on it. So it's really exciting. And, Mercury will be there right at the end of Aquarius and move right into Pisces as the new moon is happening. So that's an even... Actually, if we really take a look at this, there's a holy cow waiting for us on that Thursday night, Friday, Saturday. That is a huge shift that we step into, and the big closing door ending. And what a door to close. I think that we've all been through a really powerful 40 days and 40 nights as we step into that Friday the 31st. one that has changed us, one that has redirected our feelings, one where we feel differently. I mean, I can say in my own personal opinion, there was a definite ending of a way I was looking at life and a feeling I was having, and definitely a shift, a change. And this is going to be another one of those that really directs your life in a new way, really has you build some really new solid foundations in your life, and really, you know, do-si-do with some new people in a new direction, or even existing relationships, maybe seeing eye to eye better, or maybe having a clear goal or clear vision that's one that's grounded in manifesting something. So this is really good energy, but, you know, it can be difficult, I think, with that slowing down and that ending of the moon as it humps over the cardinal cross and it comes into all that wild energy, because there's some stress points there. Uranus is squaring, you know, Pluto and Venus as this is happening. You know, Jupiter's opposing this place. There's a huge T-square in space, and Mars isn't too far away from it all. And so, you know, there's a lot to take a look at here.
Absolutely, and one of the things that is going to be very relevant, I think, is the position of Jupiter, as you were mentioning. Jupiter in Cancer brings things into the home. And so a lot of people who've been working on transformation, on making changes, you may see some radical shifts going on in your home, in your personal life, or it'll manifest on either side of the wheel in your career and in your destiny point of your presence in this material world. But, you know, the other thing that's kind of interesting, I don't know if you remember when you were a kid playing with tops. You know, tops were a big thing for me. I really, I got infatuated with them, and I had probably 24 of them in my collection. Mm. And I loved spinning tops and then watching them as they would run out of power, and they'd start to wobble, and then they'd finally fall down. And as I was looking at the activity of the nodes today, it occurred to me that, you know, the nodes on this new moon are going to be back to 2 degrees, and then it's going to be, you know, that final step backwards into Libra and Aries, moving away from Taurus and Scorpio. And I kind of had this image in my mind's eye that appeared of a top wobbling for the next 2 or 3 weeks here, and then that node will flop into the next sign. I think it's going to be a very dramatic passage from the Scorpio-Taurus polarity into the Libra-Aries polarity as the nodes start to activate those parts of the chart.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and I did love tops as a kid. I used to enjoy watching the same thing. I used to do the same thing with quarters. I used to flick a quarter and it would spin, and you could watch the quarter do the same thing. And we go through kind of periods in life where it feels like it's almost going to stop, and the universe is kind of going to highlight, I think, this week, especially as that moon slows down midweek and we get ready for this new moon, there's a big slowdown. And then it's almost like the universe interjects and spins the top one more time for us to spin it into the right direction again with this new moon. So that's super exciting. And I think the nodes also, this is really, I would say, the big show happening before the nodes leave Scorpio Taurus, because the big show is pretty much now the new moon, having the big shift with Venus, having all these shifts happen, because in February, the North Node will shift and come into Libra around the 18th and 19th of February. So at this point, at the end of this week, we will be officially about 20 days out. And there are some good things that we'll talk about in February, but this is a kind of a major event happening this week. That's what you and I like to find on this channel, or when are the levers being pulled the most, you know? And I'd say that there's a lot of levers being pulled here. And, you know, prepare yourself. And honestly, if you had to launch a business or buy a product or do something, I would say that this weekend was the weekend to do it. I would say Friday's a great day to do this. Saturday's a great day. You know, the planets are in good synergy, and the shifting has begun in a really good direction. So there's not many windows right now if you've been paying attention to the astrology much. This weekend's one of those good windows.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And then as the moon, after it renews itself in Aquarius, continues to progress, it's going to do a little dance with Mercury and then advanced more deeply into Pisces and hit Neptune and hit Chiron. And so we're really going to see, like, again, that idea of air and the electricity of the passage when it really sparks, and then it immediately goes into this very deep sensual region. And I think that this coming weekend, not the weekend that our listeners are going to be experiencing the day after they see the video, the following weekend is going to be a very sensual time. And it's going to be interesting to see how people are activating that part of their consciousness, where they can really plumb the depths of their feeling, where they can really have new levels of intimacy. So again, we've got this almost like a stampede of energy that's focusing everything on this following weekend, the weekend after you see this video, which would be the, 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Yeah.
That is a weekend that is going to be kind of low-key, kind of not really an awful lot going on. But it's a good time to prepare yourself for the coming weekend, because then the grand parade begins.
Yeah, it's the opening. It's the opening of your perception. That Sagittarius energy mixes so good with Aquarius. It's one of my favorite vibes. Honestly, I think this is a great weekend for fun, a great weekend for socializing, a great weekend to also kind of play with the Venus retrograde a little bit more, you know, with the relationships and with the new value systems. And, you know, this is kind of a play weekend, you know, play with the Play-Doh a little bit, because Play-Doh gets hard, you know, by the end of this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is an exciting period that we're moving into after a period of feeling like, you know, you wanted to go somewhere but you didn't know where it was that you wanted to go, or feeling like, you know, you parked your car in the wrong spot and got towed or booted. I mean, the last 6 months have definitely been giving us a lot of challenges. And now I think we're flipping away from that. I think we're moving further and further in the right direction. So I think I'll pull a couple of cards to see.
Yeah, I'd love to see what the cards say for this.
And the first card up, just what we were talking about. All of this energy is crystallizing. And so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this week, we're watching the build-up. And the Ace of Rods is about passion. And I think that we'll see a lot of passion become manifest with this new moon. So it's a week of building passion. Wow, synchronicity happening all over the place. Second card up, Ace of Cups. This is a week where you can really find that region of your own consciousness where that inner sense of abundance resides. You know, this is the cup that runneth over. This is the cornucopia of life. And so I think we're going to see that Saturnian energy, even though all this is happening in Aquarius, we're going to see that imagery of the cornucopia that we associate with Capricorn really become very, very manifest all around us. Midweek, it definitely shows unexpected events, and this is that square, that T-square filling out, and that energy shift between Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, and filling itself out in Aries with Uranus's placement. And again, you know, Uranus rules Aquarius. It's in Aries. We got fire and air. It's very volatile. So while all this action is going on in Aquarius, Uranus is going to have its influence, and we'll see the tower show up with unexpected things, and we just have to stop and address. But toward the end of the week, there's kind of a sense of graciousness moves in. This is when our hearts can really open. So Thursday, Friday, the new moon, we'll see things start to settle down. A lot of people will start to operate back out of that fourth chakra. They'll get out of their head, they'll get out of their fear, they'll get out of their ambitions, and start to speak their truth and start to plumb the depths of their own emotional experiences with life. And then as we go into the following weekend, look at that, we have the devil coming up. That can show up as hedonistic activity. So if you have your drug of choice, I would say exercise moderation, because things could get out of control. It also means that there's a lot of work to be done, and this is a good time to accomplish a lot. So we can get rid of our chains and our boundaries and our limitations. But looks like the cards are really giving us some clear insight as to this passage that's right on the horizon here.
Those are the most exciting cards we've ever had on this show in 1 week.
It really is, and you know, it's the synchronicity of the whole thing. We've got.
I know. The Tower card in the middle of the week with Capricorn and the Moon and Pluto and Venus. I mean, it's like too much, because the Tower card is totally, you know, people's dreams or their accomplishments. You know, Pluto is going to break down some to make new ones work. So, you know, relationships dying in order to start new ones. You know, businesses falling to create new ones. I mean, it's really powerful.
Yeah, and again, we're really telling people. I think we want to reiterate this over and over again. Wait until the moon renews itself before you actually make those commitments, but then be ready to make a very serious long-term commitment, because that's when things will advance in your favor. But if you do things in the dark of the moon or before the moon renews itself, you may find you end up with a flat tire by the time the weekend's over.
Yeah, you definitely don't, you know, get engaged on Wednesday, Thursday like that, or you just don't. Yeah, you reflect, you go deep, and I think the cards as well. You know, there was the Ace of Wands, right, and then the Ace of Cups. I mean, geez, I mean, all the cards were all major arcana, pretty much, right?
Well, yeah, we had the two aces, two major arcana, and the King of Cups is a card I also relate
yeah, it
to
was
that,
powerful.
that
Like
fourth chakra. Yeah,
the full house.
And that fourth chakra being being in the middle of this whole thing, it's going to affect you on your soul level, where the two elements within our physical being meet. You know, the upper half, fifth, sixth, and seventh chakras aspiring toward heaven, and the first, second, and third chakras are what's grounding us in earth. So that fourth chakra is very, very important, because that's where these two elements come together, and that's where the synergy occurs. So fourth chakra, having that much emphasis placed on it for this coming week, is a very telling aspect that came up in the cards.
Yeah, and the Devil card at the end goes really well with Mercury kind of leaving into Pisces, and I think it deals with consciousness. I think it deals with, you know, Justin Bieber, really good example of the times right now, especially as we had all this energy, you know, around Mars, the moon and Mars in a square, and all this energy dealing with this big, you know, cardinal cross in the skies. Like, you know, before you take actions, be very aware and conscious right now, and especially when Mercury comes into Pisces, don't get misled. Don't channel spirit. You know, I think it's about consciousness. The Devil card can be your best friend in a good way, is if you put the work in spiritually. It's when you slave yourself to the unconscious, I think, that, you know, it can be really nasty. And poor Justin Bieber, I mean, even though, you know, I don't agree with what he did, you know, I feel bad for him as a human being and as a soul who's just not, you know, I don't think he's living in his truth, and he's young, you know, but these are the times, and you'll see a lot of people. I think there'll be more Justin Bieber stories, especially this week, if people are not really opening up to the consciousness well.
Exactly. And, you know, the Beeb is a kid. I can remember when I was 19, 20, 21.
I know. Yes.
And, you know, I spent my 21st birthday in Vietnam, drunk out of my mind. I don't believe what myself. And we do stupid things when we're at that age. But yeah. I think that him being a Pisces, he is going to absorb from his experiences and ultimately come out on top of it. And I think a lot of people, with this passage through Aquarius, they're going to think about the things that they're experiencing. So I think what appears to be, something imploding in your face will actually end up resulting in positive spiritual growth for a lot of people.
And to go on the Bieber, I don't know why we're talking about him. I brought him up, but I think he's a good thing. All this Aquarius energy for Pisces, it's deep spiritual work. It's clearing a lot of the cobwebs. He could come out of this Aquarius transit, and after Mercury goes retrograde in Aquarius and comes out in the next couple months, we could see, we're just putting some predictions out there. You could see a whole new Justin Bieber, a more spiritually redefined, if he does his work right, or he could be even more lost than what you see now. So it'll be one or the other two. He'll come out, free and clear and maybe very spiritual and like ready to take a better path, or he's going to do the opposite and go like more intense down this road afterwards, I'd say. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Justin has 29 degrees Scorpio ascendant, and he has his rising planet is Pluto, I think about 27 degrees.
Oh, yeah, he's got Pluto on the ascendant, right? And
right.
Saturn in his 12th house. Yeah, I think it's the end of this year when he redirects his energy correctly. I think this will be kind of maybe the story of the year for poor Justin Bieber.
Well, I think it's going to be a good outcome, though, eventually.
Yes.
And I'm seeing that potential in a lot of people right now, that the media is raking over the coals, and that a lot of people, on Facebook, if somebody has success, then all of a sudden they become a target, and that's an unfortunate part of the human experience also. So the more visible you are, the greater the burden will be for you to survive in the public's eye.
Yeah, and this goes for all of us in all of our lives, that, we're all under the microscope, I think, in our own spiritual awareness to do the best thing, to do the higher calling. And we all have to, it doesn't matter how much media is on you or not, the media of your own reflection of your projections is around, and you got to make sure that you're reflecting a good show for yourself, because in many ways, even though the media might draw these attentions, these people are projecting it themselves, and they're projecting it in extreme, powerful ways. And we all have to watch our projections. We all have to watch our thought patterns, and we all have to watch our abilities to manifest, whether it's good or bad things. And these are times where, Pluto, Uranus don't mess around. I think there's extreme change in the world happening, and there's extreme change in our own souls, and it's a delicate place. 1 minute you can be so sure of something, and the next minute, there's a kid killing somebody in a school, or you end up in a hospital, or whatever. And so you really have to be on top of your spiritual awareness right now. It's a long game that you have to play, and you have to be strategized right, and you have to you have to take it seriously through these times. These aren't times that you can just lollygag the whole time. You really have to put the work in,
Yeah, whenever you have intense planets in both Capricorn and Aquarius and Pisces, you really have got a huge lineup there, and then that gap that's being filled in Aquarius now. So the Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn part of the wheel that's all being stimulated right now. It's very interesting. So next week, I'm assuming that the kitty cat will be back and doing a guest shot again.
Maybe. We'll see. It's his half birthday coming up, since he is a Leo, and we are coming in here into Aquarius, so it's my half birthday too. And yeah, I'm getting ready. I'm actually really enjoying this energy. I love Aquarius. It's one of my favorite energies, and it's interesting to see what's happening around the world. I think if we notice around the world right now, there's not a lot of noise. Everybody's noise is starting to turn into their own personal lives. It's interesting. We haven't really seen a huge global story in a while. I at least feel. I just don't feel the global energy of stories kind of affecting people's lives. Everybody has their main events of their own life right now,
Yeah, exactly. Of course, here in the Midwest, I think a lot of that is due to the fact that it's frickin' frigid. I was looking at next week. The high for Tuesday is 3 below zero for Chicago.
Wow.
So yeah, we're not even going to get above zero for a couple of days this week. So
Wow.
that makes people somewhat dormant. But
Yeah.
ultimately, we're going to have some interesting fireworks, a lot of fun, and I think we're going to really get outside of ourselves as the sun continues to advance in Aquarius. We'll get outside of our heads and outside of our fear factors and really start celebrating life as we should. That's a very appropriate attitude for life.
I agree. Well, it was an excellent week in advance, Christopher, and I can't wait to see you on the other side of this new moon.
Yes, it's going to be exciting for all of us. My natal moon is in Aquarius, and it's all happening right on top of that. So how cool!
Oh, how exciting! Yeah, it's happening opposing my Venus exactly at 11 Leo. So interesting.
We'll be rocking.
We are going to be rocking. All right, buddy. Well, I'll talk to you next week.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.